Now let's talk about the final points that some senators are going to raise when it comes to Matt Gaetz as an excuse not to vote for him. Well, this final point is that Matt Gaetz has faced accusations. Whenever he's mentioned in the mainstream media, for example, he's always mentioned as being under ethics review by the U.S. House or having faced sex trafficking allegations. So what is all that about? Did he face sex trafficking allegations? Was it true? Who started this? Is he guilty of that? It's a very serious allegation. Matt Gaetz was elected to Congress back in 2016. He started serving his term in January of 2017. Now, people in Washington, D.C. don't like Matt Gaetz. They don't like him personally. He was kind of a playboy. They don't love that. Sort of weird-looking character. He's kind of obnoxious. They don't like that. He's not a well-liked person. Immediately, though, he started to stand out, even though he was a freshman, because he was a fighter for Trump right off the bat, a fighter against the establishment. He butted heads almost as soon as he got into Congress with people like Paul Ryan, people like Kevin McCarthy, other GOPers who are establishment GOPers. He started picking fights with them in both word and deed. So almost immediately, as he started his service in Congress, he's disliked by the establishment, professionally and personally. And what happens in Washington, D.C. when you're disliked by the establishment is that makes you a target. So in 2020, fast forward just a couple of years, the FBI begins investigating Matt Gaetz for allegedly having a relationship with a minor, a 17-year-old girl, they said, and paying for her to travel over state lines. Now, if an allegation like this is true, then that's the definition of sex trafficking. So that's where the sex trafficking allegations come into play. The allegation is that a 17-year-old girl was moved overstate. He paid for her travel to cross state lines and he had sex with her. Now, is this true? We'll get to that in a second. So where did the FBI get this idea? Who told them that Gaetz needed to be investigated for sex trafficking? Who made this allegation? Well, it came from a man by the name of Joel Greenberg. Joel Greenberg is a former Seminole County tax collector in the state of Florida who claimed to be a close personal friend of Matt Gaetz. He said that he was his longtime associate professionally. Now, to substantiate this, Greenberg posted a selfie of Gaetz and Roger Stone, the political operative. So some thought that, okay, this guy might have credibility. But in 2020, Greenberg himself was indicted by the Department of Justice. And in 2021, Greenberg pleaded guilty to 6 felony counts of, what do you accuse Gaetz of? Sex trafficking, wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft, and stalking. He's currently carrying out an 11-year sentence. Suffice to say, this guy, Joel Greenberg, is not a good guy at all. So what happens in the wake of this? Well, Gaetz was investigated by the Department of Justice for 2 years over the claims that Greenberg made about Gaetz. And along the way, there's a weird tangent here. Along the way, Gaetz says that he and his dad were the victims or were targeted for extortion. Somebody tried to extort his father for $25 million. At the time that Gaetz came out and made this extortion scheme public, a lot of people were like, what is he talking about? What is going on? Well, guess what? Gaetz was right. That's exactly what happened. A businessman by the name of Stephen Alford, he's 62 years old, told Gaetz's dad that he could essentially make the DOJ investigation of Gaetz go away if Gaetz's dad paid him $25 million. The dictionary definition of extortion. Well, Gaetz and his dad instead cooperated with the local FBI office, and it resulted in Alford's arrest, and he pled guilty to extortion. So now we're at 2022. The Department of Justice, Joe Biden's Department of Justice, announced that they would not be bringing any charges against Gaetz. Remember, all this time, the allegations were never charges against Gaetz. They were allegations that a private citizen made that resulted in a Department of Justice investigation, an investigation that ultimately did not bring any charges against Gaetz. In fact, they closed the investigation. Why? Well, because the 2 people making the accusation, Joel Greenberg and then this unnamed underage girl, were found to be non-credible. In other words, they were such bad liars that even the Biden Department of Justice thought there's no way that these 2 could be believable. And this is the Biden Department of Justice. The Biden Department of Justice that invents things in order to target their political enemy, will grasp at the slightest hair to target their political enemy. There was so much nothing to these allegations that even the Biden DOJ dropped them. Even the Biden Department of Justice dropped this investigation with no charges. Now, what should be noted is that in 2021, the Democrat-controlled House opened an ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz. It subsequently paused that investigation while the Department of Justice investigated Gaetz. Well, in 2022, the GOP retains control of the House. Kevin McCarthy, you'll remember, was elected Speaker after a long and drawn-out battle. Anti-establishment, arguably pro-Trump Republicans held out to demand a series of reforms before McCarthy got the votes, including that any single member of the House of Representatives could motion to vacate the chair, which means bring it to a vote to oust the current Speaker. And who led that fight? Well, that fight was led by Matt Gaetz. So, Kevin McCarthy hates Matt Gaetz. In July of 2023, the McCarthy-led House revived the ethics investigation. In October of 2023, Matt Gaetz motioned to vacate the chair, and McCarthy became the first Speaker in U.S. history to be ousted. Now, Kevin McCarthy claims that Matt Gaetz did this to squash the ethics investigation into him. Gaetz claims it's because McCarthy was failing to uphold his promises. And now here we are in 2024. Matt Gaetz is nominated by President-elect Trump to be Attorney General of the Department of Justice of the United States of America. Matt Gaetz resigns from the U.S. Congress, and according to House rules, that means the ethics investigation cannot be released publicly. So what do we make of these accusations against Matt Gaetz? They're personal. They're petty. They're political grievances. But what's worse is it never mattered to those making the accusations if they were true or not. It never mattered if he got his day in court. It never mattered if he was officially found guilty or not guilty. The goal of these accusations from the beginning was character assassination of the worst kind. A smear campaign from the depths of hell. And just like when Twitter of old banned Alex Jones from the platform because those that ran Twitter knew that a lot of mainstream conservatives wouldn't want to come to Alex Jones's defense because he was saying a lot of crazy stuff about Sandy Hook, and we didn't want to be associated with that. So they used Alex Jones to move the Overton window. They thought if we can silence Alex Jones, then the next person we silence is going to come a little easier and a little easier until mainstream conservatives are silenced too. That's what's happening with Matt Gaetz. They're counting on you not coming to Matt Gaetz's defense because he's got kind of weird eyebrows. He's kind of promiscuous and everyone knew it. He's a disruptor. He's an attack dog. He's obnoxious. But let me tell you, if we don't debunk this, not only is it our moral duty to do so if someone's facing a false accusation, but make no mistake, if we don't debunk this now, the Overton window will move closer and closer to us. And this could happen to any one of us too. Matt Gaetz is a disruptor. People have concerns about things he says and things he does, and I share some of those concerns. But this is not a time to put nice people in charge of corrupt institutions. We tried our Mr. Nice Guy with Mike Pence, and look what we got. This is the time to send in a politician who is completely disassociated with the polite society that Democrats tell us are the norm. This is a time to send in the attack dog. Send in the madman. Set him loose in the Department of Justice. The reason President Trump nominated Matt Gaetz for Attorney General is to rip that place apart. I don't know about you, but I have full confidence that Matt Gaetz is the man to do it.